Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome biggity back to the channel. My name is Biggity Mark, and today we are going to be going over 12 cars that I personally love, but it seems like nobody else does. Now, obviously, before you guys are like, I love that car, you're wrong. I don't mean literally no one else in the world. What I mean by that is they're just underrated. People don't talk about them enough. I talk about them all the time, and so that's why they're here. Okay, 12 cars that I love, but they don't get enough love, if that makes any sense. Guys, really quick before we get into the video, I just want to quickly ask you if you could please click that subscribe button. Over 80% of you guys are not subscribed, and I'd really like to see if we can get that number into the 70%. As always, in the top of the comment section is going to be a link to my new gaming channel where I'm going to be going over Grand Theft Auto Online, and specifically the cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. So if you're into Grand Theft Auto Online, go ahead and check that out. But with all the self-promoting out of the way, let's get right into the video with number 12. Coming in at number 12 is going to the whole Aston Martin brand. The whole thing. Every single one of the cars in the brand. They, in my opinion, are some of the most beautiful cars ever made, and I don't think they get enough love. Now, when it comes to like British cars in general, I feel like that's kind of like the way it goes. Like, they make the British boys make a couple of banging cars like McLaren, Aston Martin. Obviously, people like Rolls-Royce, but Bentley, all those cars, like, obviously, yeah, they're liked, but they're nowhere near talked about as much as like a Lambo or a Ferrari. Like, there's a chance that you can go up to somebody that likes material things and is all like, oh, I love Lambo, I love Ferrari, and they won't even know what Aston Martin is. And that's mind-blowing to me, because Aston Martin is just amazing. They make amazing cars. They're also decently quick, but also luxurious at the same time, which is amazing. Obviously, since they are a British company and they're a British supercar, they're not reliable and very expensive, but that doesn't matter. Coming in at the number 11 spot is going to the BMW 635 CSI E24. The E24 is one of my favorite BMWs of all time, period. And nobody really it's the whole 6 Series in general is underrated if you really think about it. The freaking E24, the E63, and then whatever the last one was, the F12, I think it was. Either way, they're great cars. The E24 though comes with a 3.5 liter inline 6 that makes 286 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. That's honestly not that slow for the time that it was built. Like, that's pretty decently quick. Like, that's close to, that is how much horsepower my 350Z has, but it was built like 12 years before my 350Z, which is mind-blowing. It's also not that expensive either. Like, if you buy it nowadays, like, you can buy one for like 10k, which yes is a little expensive, but for what you get, I don't think it's expensive at all, and they're only going to continue to go up in price. So coming in at number 10 is going to the wonderful Lamborghini Diablo. Obviously, this is somewhat loved because it's a Lamborghini, like, flagship car, and so obviously people are going to know that it exists and people are going to talk about it a little bit. But what I mean by it is it's like overshadowed by the Murcielago and the Countach. Like, it's right there in the middle of those two, but everybody always talks about those two and not the Diablo. It comes with a 5.7 liter V12 that makes 550 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. I think the Countach and Murcielago are pretty good cars too, don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, the Diablo is just amazing. It's just Lambo. It's just everything about Lambo was put into the Diablo, and I love it. And it's just, everybody's like, oh, Murcielago and Countach especially. Everybody loves the Countach, and it's crazy. It also has an absolutely timeless design with or without the pop-ups. Some of them came with pop-ups, some of them didn't, but either way, it looks great. It is obviously ridiculously expensive, but who cares, man? It's a freaking Lambo. Coming in at number 9 is going to the Mazda RX-7 FB. Obviously, this car isn't like the best in terms of performance, and so I do kind of understand why people don't talk about it that much, but it is great. Everything about the FB RX-7 is great. The FD RX-7 is my favorite car of all time, hands down. Like, there's no other car out there that comes anywhere close to it, but the FB is still such a great car. It comes with a 1.1 liter 2-rotor rotary engine making only 100 horsepower, and it was rear wheel drive. So yeah, it ain't quick. Okay, and it doesn't have a big engine, but it actually does have a decent sized engine bay, so you could engine swap it, just saying. And in my opinion, it just looks great. Like, everybody talks about the FD, obviously. Most people know about the FC at this point, but the FB just goes completely under the radar. It's cheaper to buy an FB than it is to buy an FC, which is mind-blowing. Coming in at the number 8 spot is going to another JDM car, actually, the Nissan Skyline R31. This car actually came out right before the wonderful GTR was released, so obviously, because of the fact that it's not all-wheel drive and didn't have an RB26 in it, it doesn't get anywhere near the amount of love that the R32 does. The R32 is commonly talked about as one of the best JDM cars of all time. The R31 just doesn't even exist to people. It comes with a 2-liter turbocharged inline 6, making 207 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. Sure, that's nowhere near as good as a GTR, with the GTR having all-wheel drive and 276 horsepower, but that's still incredible for the 80s. Like, that is still an amazing motor, making an amazing horsepower for the 80s. These are also still kind of cheap too, if you want to buy one, which is mind-blowing, and it has that wonderful, like, boxy 80s styling that somehow still doesn't look bad today. Now, stock, yes, they look a little weird, but it's so easy to make these things look incredible. Coming in at the wonderful number 7 spot, lucky 7s, my boy, is going to the wonderful Audi S5 AT. I think I said wonderful twice there. It's just that wonderful, man, okay? It is one of the most beautiful Audi cars ever built, in my opinion, and no one cares. Just no one talks about it. Who cares? Oh, it's an Audi? I don't care. The whole S5 line in general is just underrated as hell. Anyway, this car comes with a 4.2-liter V8, making 354 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive, of course, because Audi. Now, it isn't the most reliable because it does have a German V8 in it, so don't expect to be driving this thing everywhere. It also does have a decent horsepower number, but you're really paying for the styling, speed, and comfort all combined, not just one when you buy an Audi, I feel like, and the S5 AT just kind of perfectly encapsulates that. It's not an S4, so that's why nobody talks about them, but I feel like people need to look into more Audis rather than just the S4 because they make some bangers. Coming in at number 6 is a car that I'm going to have to explain myself with, but I've been trying to include it in my videos recently. The Honda Fit first generation. Hear me out, alright? Hear me out, my good friend. It's not that fast. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a super quick car, but it doesn't need to be, okay? The car only comes with a 1.5 liter inline 4, and it only makes 105 horsepower, and it is front wheel drive, which, yeah, is ridiculously slow. And the engine, even though it is a Honda engine, isn't actually the best for making more power. But the thing is, it can be equipped with a lot of Civic and Accord parts, so you could just slap those parts on them and make it a track-ready car. On top of that, Honda engines are dirt cheap. Just swap the engine, dude, if you want a new engine in it. It also has plenty of space and reliability to it, which can't be said for other Hondas like an Integra or Prelude. And it's just like a fun little daily driver that's not going to leave you broke or stranded, and people hate the Honda Fit for no reason. Coming in at the number 5 spot, however, is going to the Mitsubishi Eclipse 4th generation. Hear me out, because everybody's all like, oh my goodness gracious, that thing looks like an egg. That thing looks hideous. And I will be honest, I will be 100% honest. It doesn't look that great to me as well. I don't think it's one of the better looking cars out there, but it's a decently performing car. They come with a 3.8 liter V6, making 265 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. Just imagine if this car was rear wheel drive. You know how many people would love the 4G Eclipse if this thing was rear-wheel drive? It would be in everybody's mouth. Everybody would be talking about the freaking 4G Eclipse, but since it's front-wheel drive, no one cares. It makes no sense. It has pretty decent horsepower, 265 horsepower, and it can come with a manual transmission, and you could buy it for under 5K. That's an incredible deal to me. It's also a pretty new car, too, so it has a lot of new, nice technology in it. Coming in at 4th place, however, is going to the Honda Prelude 4th generation. What? I know, I did not plan that, but it's just crazy how those work out. This is crazy. It's actually a pretty decently quick Honda, but it's also a decently like impractical Honda compared to the other ones, because obviously the other ones have like 4 doors, more room, but this one's a little bit quicker, so pick your poison. Comes with a 2.2 liter inline 4, making 195 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. In my opinion, it looks incredible, but people like to like race these things out all the time. They add just the worst mods to Preludes, and it just looks horrible. So if you're gonna buy a Prelude and you're gonna modify it, just, you know, simplicity goes a long way with these Preludes. They don't need a lot to look nice, but either way, there's like always beaten up examples of a 4th gen Prelude for under like $3,000 all day every day, and it's a really reliable, fun sports car for under 3K that looks pretty good too. That's why I love it, and nobody cares. Everybody likes the Honda Civics and the Integras and the freaking CRVs, even not the Prelude though. Coming in at 3rd place is going to a car that looks very questionable for sure, but I personally think it actually looks really good. It is the Volkswagen Corrado VR6. Now, I will say, when I was a young boy, when I was a young lad running around in my skin tight jeans, I never wore skin tight jeans, but when I was a young boy running around, I didn't like the Volkswagen Corrado's looks either, but it's definitely grown on me. They come with a 2.8 liter VR6, obviously, making 190 horsepower, and it is front wheel drive. And in my opinion, this is one of the best Volkswagens of all time. Period. The VR6, first of all, has a decent amount of horsepower. Like 190 is not bad at all, but you can make a significant amount more with a VR6 for significantly cheaper. It's also, the car itself to buy is surprisingly cheap, since everybody just buys GTIs and Jettas when buying a Volkswagen. They don't even look into the Corrado. So you can buy like a VR6 Corrado for under 10 grand, and that is just mind-blowing to me. It's an amazing car. Coming in at the wonderful second spot, if you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby, is going to the Mitsubishi Legnum. Literally, if you have never heard of the Legnum before, I understand. It's a very unique car, but in case you're wondering, it's literally just a wagon version of the Galant VR4. And even the Galant, by the way, is very underrated. But yeah, it's just a wagon version of the Galant VR4. It comes with everything that the Galant has, but in a wagon. It's even the same motor, which is a 2.5 liter turbocharged VR4 engine, making 280 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive. VR4 Mitsubishis are some of the most well-rounded tuner cars out there, period. That's why everybody wants the 3000 GT VR4. They're incredible. Any VR motor is just incredible to build. The Legnum also has tons of space and practicality for daily driving, since it is a wagon, and it's fast, and it looks aggressive. That is just amazing. It's a wagon that looks cool and is fast stock, but can be even faster if you wanted to. And you could take the kids to soccer practice in it, and nobody cares because it's a freaking Legnum, and nobody even knows that they exist. But coming in at first place, the car that I think deserves so much more love, and it's unbelievable. It is the Lotus Esprit. One of the most beautiful cars to come from the UK, in my opinion. Lotus, in general, is a very underrated car company. I feel like the Elise, the Exige, the Esprit, they have all these like huge supercars like the Aviha now, but those are different. But the Esprit is just amazing, dude. It comes with a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V8, making 350 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. That sure isn't the best like amount of horsepower, but 350 horsepower is not slow. Okay, like this vehicle is not, I just said vehicle like a police officer, but this car is not that slow at all. It's just such a well-rounded like track monster that nobody cares about. Like, oh my god, and it has pop-up headlights. It has pop-up headlights. That alone makes it 10 times better. Now, it obviously isn't that reliable because, once again, it's a British car and it's got a V8 with 2 turbos on it, but look at it, it's got pop-up headlights. It looks amazing. It performs pretty decently. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's like the fastest car out there. It's definitely not. It's a bit heavy, but it's an amazing car, dude. Look into the Esprit. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the 12 cars that I love, but just nobody else out there does. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos that you guys would like to see. I'm kind of running out of content ideas here. I got the deep dives going on, and you guys seem to like those, so that's good. I got these top 10s going on, and those you guys seem to like those, so that's good. But let me know what other videos you'd like to see. I want to do a rating my subscribers' cars video again, but every time I ask you guys to do that, you don't send me your cars. You gotta send me the cars if you want me to review your cars. But I guess we'll start now. We'll do a subscriber car review pretty soon. So if you have a cool car, send it to me on Instagram at ss.markey. I would say to send it to me at my email, but I really don't want my email to get just like full of a bunch of things. And on top of that, I barely check my email. So send it to me on Instagram. If you can't send it to me on Instagram, we'll try and figure out another way to do it. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.